Everything revolves around one subject and one subject only, and that is crude oil. And whoever it is that wants that pipeline, wants the crude oil out of Georgia and wants the natural gas out of Georgia, they're going to fight for it. Life means nothing because crude oil is the standard currency of the world. And in some way, connect in your mind and everything you see on the news about crude oil and natural gas in relation to Georgia, and you know which way this thing is going.
I have to agree with you. Very, very serious, ladies and gentlemen. Very, very serious. Just so much incredible news in the past. One story like confirmed U.S. mercenaries are being captured. One of them is an African American in their leading troops attacking the Russians. This is an incredible provocation. 6 months ago, 3 months ago, a month ago, the Russian Foreign Ministry threatened to aim their nukes at the U.S. again and said, we will use nukes if you keep moving weapon systems into Ukraine, into Georgia, into Czech Republic, and they just don't care. They're doing it. Now, some people say the New World Order plays both sides. You're right, they do play both sides, but are they in control of both sides? We know, and it's been in the Financial Times of London, that every time they arrest one of the oligarchs, the 10 or so that really owned Russia, that arrested like 6 of them, that they always then, once they're in jail, international agreements were already signed where it's transferred to the Rothschilds, who were the secret owners. And yes, folks, that's really in the newspaper in England. So it also looks like Russia may actually be, at some level, a rogue element inside the New World Order. But you're saying your oil company source says no, they're teamed up with Russia.
Well, yes, they've got to be. In order to produce, they have known a long time in advance, far enough in advance, that the CEO of ExxonMobil Oil Company on May the 3rd, 2008, said crude oil should be $50 a barrel. Now, go look it up. You can find it in the web. It hit the national news May the 3rd of 2008. And for these oil company top people to make these statements, and then this man 8 weeks ago to tell me exactly where these oil fields are that they were going to bring online, and for the retired CEO of Shell Oil to state on Monday, June the 2nd of 2008, America must have a new energy policy, but he wasn't talking about an energy policy of us developing our own oil fields, but an energy policy of developing the huge oil fields in Indonesia, north of Russia, destroying the Arabs totally. And if people can put all this together, Alex, they're going to see exactly what these people are doing, and every bit relates to all of these things are planned behind closed doors. And when this man said this to me 8 weeks ago, he knew everything that they had talked about, all the plans that they had made. Now, he did not mention Georgia. He did mention the fact that Russia is going to become one of the major powers on the face of the earth because they're going to become rich like the Arabs are right now. Then you put together that along with the socialism of Russia and bring in the oil to give them the finances that they need to be able to do things that nobody ever thought that anybody could do.
So Russia's been playing possum while the globalists brought down and bankrupted the U.S., which is what all the old-timers 50 years ago said the plan really was. And I want to be clear. Joseph McCarthy was an alcoholic. He thought he was a Marine who flew dangerous combat photography missions over Japan, and his plane got shot up quite a few times. He was the real deal. They make movies demonizing him, making him look like a fool. He wasn't perfect. He wasn't that sophisticated. But then he found out about the New World Order. I talked to people that knew him and worked with him. They were allowing him to set up a police state in the U.S. in the name of fighting communism to really persecute the left and create censorship boards for the FBI. But as soon as he found out and said the Army, the Air Force, everybody works for the communists, he goes, no, wait, they're funding the communists. And as soon as he found out that they had put Mao Zedong into power, which is now declassified mainstream history, our government put Mao in, they set them up after the Boxer Rebellion 110 years ago, and then had them fight the Japanese, and then didn't give Chiang Kai-shek the weapons. The point is, it turned out he was right, but it wasn't communism; it was globalism. Just as Carol Quigley at Georgetown said, Bill Clinton's mentor, the head of political science there, that the international roundtable groups based in London use and own all the groups and finance them all, but they like to work with communists and fascists because they centralize control, which they can then create a global government with. And so that's what's happening. And as soon as McCarthy found out that the military was, quote, backing the communists, which later all came out, giving them nukes, weapons, aluminum plants, everything, that's when they had to shut him down and made him look like a fool. Now, let's go back to Brendan in Australia. Finish up, Brendan.
Yeah, I was just going to say, today Kevin Rudd, the Prime Minister of Australia, went to Korea, and they've got like a big story about how he's talking about Australian beef and whatnot. And then, most of the media just left it out, but a few of them are starting to pick it up. He's also, the main reason he went there was to push his Asia-Pacific community, the Asian-Pacific Union, which is...
and when you read it, they call it a union, just like the African Union, the Caribbean Union they're trying to set up. The South American Union was signed 5 weeks ago. The African Union's been around for 10 years. And then major news publications wrote articles in the last 2 weeks, several of them saying, I'm insane that the African Union doesn't exist. And I mean, they're living in a delusional la-la land. I mean, it's all over the foreign press. They're having meetings. They have international bodies that are set up. They have the African Union set up, and the media says it doesn't exist.
Even now, even the news is saying it's going to be like a European Union-style community. They call it community.
Yeah, but you're allowed to see that in Australia. They know Americans are so dumb. I mean, everybody's been dumbed down in the West, but we win. We're the winners. I mean, we win by several lengths. It's not winning by a nose. I mean, it's just... I mean, I'm not being mean here. It's a fact. Just literally, none of it exists. Government's always good. There's no elite. There's no... I mean, I don't... Thank you for the call, sir. Absolutely. They said a year ago, because I was finishing Endgame at the time, I've got the mainstream articles in the film, they said that they were now making the Asian Economic Group, APEC, similar to APAC, not the same thing, that it was now a union. It was in major Australian, Japanese papers. Doesn't exist here in America. Hell, they may start saying Japan doesn't exist. Americans, I'm not kidding. I mean, they may say nothing exists, but Budweiser and acting tough. Lindsey Williams, do you get the point I'm trying to make here?
Oh, you're exactly right, Alex. In fact, everything that you've been saying over these years, and even though I don't get to talk to you that much in person, I follow you very carefully. These elitists have everything planned in advance. And when this gentleman called me 8 weeks ago and told me these things that were going to happen, I was utterly flabbergasted to hear the things that they have already on the drawing board. And all of this fits together. Understand one thing, everybody out there, and Alex, listening audience. The elite control the world. They control both sides. They control what's happening over there in Iraq. They control Iran. They control Russia. They control what's happening in America. And the elite pull the strings. Everybody in Congress immediately says, how do you want us to jump whenever they say jump? And the president does too. So,
well, I mean, the evidence of that is 90+% want to control the borders. Both parties say, shut up. You don't like it? Well, SWAT team will drop by. 80% went out of the war. They say it ain't ever ending. They just do whatever they want, whenever they want. Let's jam in a few final calls for you. John in New Hampshire, then Rusty, Cody, Jennifer, and Jeremy. Real fast, John. Go ahead.
Yeah, Alex, I just wanted to say, I mean, Billy Crystal is such a scumbag. I mean, the guy's like a little warlord every time you see him. I honestly don't even think people take the guy seriously anymore.
Oh, really? They're attacking Russia right now.
They are. You're right about that. But
no, he's
anything but a conservative.
Well, I mean, he's a Trotskyite, so that's the new conservative.
Well, I wanted to ask Lindsey, how do you see this for the United States playing out? I mean, how much do you think we're going to escalate this? And then do you think if we start engaging with them, do you see China getting into this at all?
Well, if China gets into it, we're really in big trouble. Biblically, you find China and you find Russia in Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39. You put these nations together and you've got World War III if it goes to that point.
Okay, you know what? That's a great point, John. Briefly, and I'll just keep you to the end of the show, but I got a few things I got to plug, and plus I want to plug your stuff. Lindsey Williams, briefly, as a Baptist minister, looking at your perspective on the scriptures. And I'm going from memory here, but doesn't the Antichrist blow the daylights out of a Russian group, and then later the Russians and the Chinese come back, or fill me in briefly on that?
You're exactly right. He literally decimates certain parts of the world. Russia will eventually be destroyed. China, oh my goodness, China's got some exciting days ahead. The United States of America is going to really take a back seat. We are going to become a nil. How should I put it, a nil circumstance in the world.
A third world kind of backwater cesspit.
Yeah, we are going to take a back seat from this point on, any way you look at it.
Because we've been neutralized, sucked dry by the bankers. Anything else, John?
I wanted to ask you, I know gold dropped the last time I looked like $8.20 an ounce. I mean, do you think that's going to trend with oil? I mean, where do you think the bottom is for like precious metals?
Historically, gold and oil have always gone together. I do not think that's going to continue. Now, this is only a prediction. I agree with you, Alex. I've got to call this man back and ask him some more questions if he's willing to answer me. It's my opinion.
If you have a devaluing dollar, it doesn't matter what oil does. The gold's going to go up because it's denominated in dollars.
Yeah, I think oil and gold are going to break. I do not think they're going to stay together as they've done in the past. I think they're going to break.